Hi everybody, this is April DePriest, and today I'm going to talk to you about standing up to a sedentary life, understanding the importance of physical activity. So we'll talk a little bit about the difference between physical activity and exercise. We'll talk about what scientists and the CDC have determined are the largest aversions to exercise and physical activity, and we'll talk about how to overcome those. And then I'll give you just a bunch of ways to get more physical activity in your everyday life. For credits towards the LMHF Wellness Program Part 2, you must watch the whole video today, comment on the video with your name. Once confirmed by LMHF, your comments and your name will be removed. All right, so let's get started. So regular physical activity is essential for good health and happiness. That's science. I don't know how we scientifically determine what happiness is and yada yada, but actually I do. But I'm not going to go into that today. We know that basically to be happy and healthy, we have to get regular physical activity, which is really ironic because we live in an age where we have robot vacuums and robot, lawnmowers, and we've done everything in our power to have to do less work, and now we have to find ways to get that exercise back in our lives in order to be healthy. So the definition of physical activity is just movement that is carried out by your skeletal muscles that require energy. So that's this. That's me swinging my leg on this table. That's me standing up. That's anything that you do that's movement. Exercise is a subset of physical activity. So in other words, any movement that we do is physical activity. And how do we know how much we get? Nowadays, we track it because we've really made our lives so much better than they were a couple hundred years ago. I mean, a couple hundred years ago, I probably couldn't even have a job. I'd probably be like doing stitch work. I'd have to take all my family's laundry down to the creek and wash it myself, and I'd have to can tomatoes, and my whole life would be work and exercise. So we've made it a lot easier on ourselves. We have washing machines and dryers, and we've got it really nice. So we have to figure out now how to get that movement back in our lives. So many people track their steps. The kind of going number now is around 7,500 steps a day. A lot of people will set their little smartwatches for something like 200 steps an hour or 250 steps an hour. And that's a really great way to go because that keeps you from doing what I'm doing right now, sitting. You don't sit for too long. Every hour, your little watch is going to go bzzz. You have 179 steps to go this hour. So that's a nice way of doing it. Sometimes you can track how many stairs you've taken, minutes of mindful movement. There's all kinds of great things on these trackers. Other things that you could do if you don't want to wear a tracker. I've had people say, well, I don't want people knowing what I'm doing. I don't want to be attached to a Fitbit or GPS. To those people, I say you can just set your phone to go off every hour at the end of the 2 hours. You can set it for every hour, 2 minutes at the end of the hour, you go do something, and that will help you to be more active. So that physical activity, just your steps and getting up and doing stuff, doesn't satisfy what we know our exercise requirements are. So a lot of times people get confused, and I'm going to try to take my time right now teasing apart the difference between physical activity, which is all movement, and exercise. So exercise is planned, structured, repetitive, intentional movement intended to improve or maintain your physical fitness. It is a subset of physical activity. So it is physical activity, but you're getting your heart rate up, you're breathing a little bit more heavily. It's something like jogging or walking or playing tennis or doing yoga. It's something that we probably schedule into our day. We do it with the intent of getting healthier or stronger. And Physical activity is just all the movement we do. And since I started doing this, I had a group where I worked with some people who work for Chase Morgan, and it was like C-suite level stuff, so it's like all the bosses. And they're trying to implement like a fitness program or a wellness program with more activity. And it was really interesting because how did they ask their employees, so people like maybe administrative assistants and things like that, to exercise when they themselves were not exercising? So everybody wore a Fitbit. And we have people who are in charge of teams, so somebody, I don't really know what their jobs are, they do finance stuff, but somebody who had a whole team of other people working in finance. That person was getting 950 steps a day, was trying to eat very healthy, couldn't figure out why she couldn't lose weight. And we'd have to break down and look at the whole entire picture. And the whole entire picture was so she would get up and work out with like a trainer for a half hour or 3 times a week, which is great. It was amazing. Like, she had to schedule that in her day because she has to go to her job and look perfect all the time so that people believe that she's really good at her job. So she can't look like me, like I just teach, like I can look however I want. But she has to have makeup on, her hair has to be perfect, her outfit has to be on point. She cannot go work out on her lunch and then go back to work looking put together. So she had to work out at 6 in the morning so that she could get put together for her day. She has to wear heels to work, so she can't really do a lot of physical activity in those things. It's really hard for her. And we look at everything, we say, well, you're doing exercise, that's great. You're trying to stay, like within a 1,500 calorie diet, which is really hard. What is missing? And we would look at what she does throughout the day, and 950 steps. That's like never moving. That's like you get up to go to the bathroom, you get up to get your coffee, you get in the car, you go to work, you sit. You're on phone calls all day. And that 950 steps, we're going to look at how that translates to calories burned at the end of the day. So that was just one example. I'll go back to sort of trying to tease apart exercise, which she was doing 3 days a week, remember, working out really hard with a trainer, and your physical activity, which is all the other stuff, which really wasn't happening. So the definition of physical activity, again, hang on, I'm going to pull that up here so I don't have to squint. The definition of physical activity is it refers to any movement that results in the utilization of energy. So let's think about it. You're not getting any physical activity if you're like on bed rest. Okay, so that's 0 physical activity. If you get up and you go to your office and you sit down and you come home and you sit down because you're mentally exhausted from work all day, that's almost 0 physical activity. Examples of physical activity that we probably do get every day are things like walking, housework, gardening, taking your stairs, general labor. So a lot of times people ask me, well, I mow my lawn, can I count that as exercise? It depends how big your lawn is, it depends how many times you stop. I would just say no, it's physical activity. Wear a smartwatch if you want to know. Activities done through your day that require movement. So also things like dusting, general housework, all of that stuff. Yeah, it's kind of like exercise, but it's not regular enough. And you're definitely not doing it, unless you're my neighbor, with the intent of getting your heart rate up and exercising. My neighbor is wonderful. She really tries to make all of her housework exercise, and she tells me about it all the time. But I don't think everybody can do that. So the definition of exercise is planned, purposeful, structured physical activities that you do with the intent to get healthier, okay, or to maintain health or to improve your fitness, that sort of thing. Your examples of this are like weightlifting, swimming, running, cycling, anything that's rhythmic and dynamic. So even if you're going to go country line dancing, that could be considered exercise. Going to the gym, playing sports, even if you really enjoy it, hopefully you really enjoy it. Like if you love golf, walk the course, but that's considered exercise. Like I said, country line dancing, something you love, tennis, that is a sport, is exercise. So We'll talk in this chart, this graph, 30 minutes of planned exercise. So we have our person who works, in finance, sedentary for most of the day. We have this graph. So we have our resting metabolic rate. That is just how much energy our bodies use when we're doing nothing. So for me, if I'm on bed rest doing nothing, I still need 1,300 calories a day, which is my resting metabolic rate, to survive. All of the functions in my body need that. Typically, for any given person, it's like at least 1,200. After that, we've got, right at the top of this graph, you're going to see the thermic effect of food or feeding. The thermic effect of food, all that fancy language means is that when you eat food, you're chewing, you're pushing it down your esophagus, your stomach is like creating acids and doing mechanical work to break that down and pushing it down further. A whole bunch of stuff happens in here where there's energy that it takes to transport nutrients and energy across your gut lining and put it places. That takes energy. That is the thermic effect of food. Eating, like, I'm sure you've all heard the story about if you're eating celery, that you burn more calories eating it than you get out of the celery. Maybe that's true, I don't really know. But that's the idea, is that food takes energy to process. So that's on there as well. You have very small amount of your calories are burned just to process the food that you ate. Then we've got these two things. So we've got non-exercise activity thermogenesis. That sometimes we call NEAT, non-energy activity thermogenesis. NEAT just stands for physical activity. It stands for just moving around throughout the day. And then we've got exercise activity. So if you're exercising for that half hour or an hour during your day, you might burn 300 calories. So like, let's say if you run 3 miles in the morning and that's your exercise, it's about 300 calories. It's maybe 4,500 steps. So we know that we want to shoot for 7,500 steps a day to maybe even 10,000, I think. So it's 7,500 to 10,000. So that's not enough. That's really not enough energy to keep us healthy, even though it's a really hard workout. That's like not that many calories throughout the day. And then if you don't do that NEAT or that physical activity, if you're sedentary, you're getting only 950 steps, you're looking at you probably can't eat much more than 1,400 calories if you want to maintain your weight. You're not going to lose any weight because you're too sedentary. And then other things start to happen when you're sedentary. You're like other mechanisms in your body that help you to burn calories sort of shut off because your body doesn't need it. They're like, oh, we're not burning any calories. We're just going to turn that stuff off. So your metabolism tanks. So how do we get more physical activity? We're going to talk about that. But things like not doing what I'm doing right now, sitting. Things like standing up when you're folding laundry, taking stairs, taking a 2-minute walk break, or stretch breaks, So stand up from your desk when you're working. Like I said, you could just set a timer to go off every hour at 58. So if it's noon at 12:58, that's going to go off. And you spend those 2 minutes maybe just stretching the kinks out. Maybe you're doing emails, you want to stand up and you just want to march. You just want to want to work on your midsection here. Maybe just squeeze your belly and hold yourself there. Try for 30 seconds at a time. Do it 4 times. That'll give you 2 minutes of an ab workout. But just think of ways to get more movement into your day, especially if you have a sedentary job. So now that we've kind of tried to explain the difference between physical activity and exercise, and how the more physical activity we get in our day, or non-exercise activity, the more calories we can burn. Like the more you just sit, the fewer calories you burn, the less you get to eat, the less happy we are, the less happy our bodies are. So, and nobody's really ever super attentive to exactly how many calories their body burned and eating less than that, even me, and this is my job. So we'll get into what sort of the leading scientists in the nation have sort of gotten to the CDC and looked at a bunch of studies and found the largest barriers for most people to physical activity. And those are the lack of time, lack of social support, lack of energy, lack of motivation, lack of skill, sometimes it's too costly, and weather. So we are going to go through remedies for all of these barriers. So lack of time. And so we'll notice that when we talk about these things that we're combining exercise and physical activity, so trying to find ways to get both in. So sometimes, and I get this a lot, I'll get, nurses will tell me, I just don't have time. I work all day. I'm active at work all day. And then I come home, I'm exhausted. I got to take my kids to do this. I got to do that. And I hear you. So one really thorough way of doing this would be to look at your agenda, look at your calendar, pull your phone out. Mine's over there. Pull your phone out and let's look at our schedule and figure out where we can fit in 30 minutes of exercise. And you say, look, I guess I could do 15 minutes, after I have my coffee in the morning, and I could probably do 15 minutes after dinner. And you just start there and you put it in your calendar. And you go, for the whole week trying to get 5 days a week of your 30 minutes. Other things you can do are add your physical activity just to your daily routine. So for example, if you live somewhere that's close to a shopping center or a supermarket, or maybe just a corner store, and you run out of milk, you could just walk, get yourself a half an hour or an hour's walk in and go de-stress, pick up your milk that way. You could do things like maybe ride your bike to work if that's something that's doable, ride your bike shopping if that's doable, organize your kids' school activities around things that involve exercise, walk your dog, take the stairs instead of taking an elevator or an escalator. Exercise while you watch TV even. I mean, we all need our downtime. I'm not for any reason going to tell people, take the time you would normally use relaxing and watching television to do all of your exercise. That's would be a really cruel thing to tell people. I don't think that that's the case. But maybe during, if you're watching Jeopardy or something, and maybe during the commercials, you want to just stand up and march, do some toe touches, stretch it out, get the kinks out, keep things moving, burn a few extra calories. While you're doing things that you already have to do at home, you could, let's say you're folding laundry. Let's stand up, fold it at the kitchen table maybe. While you're waiting in line anywhere, or while you're waiting for something to print, you just do some knee hugs, just pick out whatever movements you think that you could do. You could brush your teeth on one foot, wash the dishes on one foot, things like that. Other things you can do are select activities like walking, jogging, stair climbing that you can do with limited time. So if you've only got 10 minutes, maybe you're at work, maybe you just go up and down the stairs for 10 minutes, or maybe you go for a little walk. If you've just read, kind of a frustrating email or you were in a meeting that should have been an email, go for a little walk. Take the stairs for 5 or 10 minutes and kind of decompress. Take advantage of work physical activity facilities if you have them, or programs if you have those. At work, you could do things like walking meetings, conference calls if possible while walking. During phone calls, stand, stretch, move around, those kind of things. So the next one is social support. So I actually love this, and we find that this is actually something that is very helpful in helping people who at least are already a little bit motivated to try to lose weight. So if you explain your interest to, and maybe getting more physical activity to friends and family, and ask them to support your efforts. So that's great. And I just want to sort of preface this with everybody's got some of those, like Debbie Downers that are just in your life. Like I have somebody in my family who, no matter what I say, I could say, I'm doing really great, I'm learning Japanese, and they would be like, oh, what do you want to do that for, waste your time doing that, or I could say, I'm volunteering at a food bank, and they would say, oh, that's a terrible waste of your time. You'll always have these people in your life somewhere. And, we should always treat people with dignity and respect, but we don't always have to respect the things that they say. So I've learned just to say to that person, well, that's a good advice, I'll think of that. And then really in your brain you mean that I'm just going to forget everything you said and go find somebody who is supportive of me. And so, not to take away from the fact that there are always Debbie Downers in our lives, we are going to, in our minds, dismiss them and move along to somebody who is supportive. So once we've got our support group, our friends and family members, we ask them to maybe join us. We ask them to be supportive of us. Now we have all this social media too, that there's actually some studies that show that looking at people who do their, Transformation Tuesdays or show a before and after just helps to even motivate people that maybe didn't have the motivation before. And they're almost always positive in their feedback. So even just looking at other people who are already in their transformation, like you kind of adopt them into your support group. And it's quite possible that those people will want to join your support group. So social media is actually, I don't love it, but I do think it's really helpful for people who are trying to find ways to be more healthy. So invite friends and family, now that you've got the support group, to exercise with you. Plan your activities around exercise. So maybe you and your girlfriends used to go for like margaritas. Well, maybe now you could still do that, but maybe you go for a walk or a jog together before you do that. Or maybe you get coffee and go for a walk. Things like that. You also could develop new friendships with physically active people. Like you could go to 5Ks in Western New York. There's lots of people who walk and jog those, and it's a great community. Everybody's positive and supportive, and you get this like draft beer and a slice of pizza and a banana when you're done, and everybody's happy and dancing to music together. It's a really wonderful scene. So when we sort of tackle this COVID thing, I think it's going to be a really great way to come back, because Buffalo's got probably one of the biggest 5K communities in the country, in the entire country. You could also do things like join a gym or a group, like at the YMCA's got a sliding fee scale, so it doesn't always have to be so expensive for everybody. And they have a lot of classes that sort of cater to certain groups of people. So let's say you're into yoga, they would have a yoga class. Let's say you want to do boot camp, they have a boot camp class. Let's say you want to do silver sneakers and you want to ease into exercise without really hurting yourself. They have a lot of classes for that. There's water aerobics. I'm sure there are other gyms that have that, but I've been to both of the the one in Williamsville and the one in the South Towns now during COVID, and they do so much to support our community, and so does the JCC, I think. I have to throw that out there, that there's such a good community in those places that it's worth a look. There are other things you could do, like join a hiking club. You could join the Western New York Mountain Biking Association. Anything that you think you might like, there's a group of people that you can find. So the next thing we'll talk about after social support is the lack of energy or motivation being a barrier. So I'm going to talk about this for a little while. Lack of energy, like I said, you have people who come home from work really tired, like either mentally and physically exhausted. I want you to think about your physical activity is your me time, not something you have to cross off a schedule. Okay, this is for you. You cannot pour from an empty cup. So if you're already feeling exhausted and you come home, you have to make dinner and you gotta do a bunch of things, the least you can do is find ways to make yourself healthier. And part of that means that you have to find activities that you really enjoy. So once you've done that, you really have to schedule it into your day. Think about when you might have more energy. So like for me, I know I don't have energy at 5 in the morning, but after my first cup of coffee I do. So maybe you schedule it for after that first cup of coffee. Maybe you schedule it for after dinner, whenever you feel like you have the most energy. Secondly, never mind how you think you feel, what your lack of energy is. Chances are, when you exercise, like if there's not something really wrong, like we're not getting really sick, you're not just completely exhausted, your body's going to release catecholamines and adrenaline, things that make you feel really good when you exercise. So just commit to that time and commit to 5 to 10 minutes. Chances are after 10 minutes, you'll feel a lot better most of the time. If you don't, just turn around and go home. Turn around and walk home. But at least you tried. But just commit to the exercise and know that every day is not going to be your day, and you do have to take care of your energy as well. So when it comes to lack of energy, try it anyway and try to schedule it in your day so that you're taking care of you. And if you don't have the energy after 5 or 10 minutes, if you feel worse, then just stop. Go home. End it. Lack of motivation. So this is what the CDC says, and I'm going to give you what I say because I think mine's a little bit better. And then you can comment all day long about whether you like mine or the CDC is better. I'm happy to hear it. So plan ahead. Make physical activity a regular part of your daily or weekly schedule. Write it in on your calendar. Invite somebody to exercise so that you've got a commitment person, like you've got a partner that you can't let down. And then thirdly, join an exercise group or class. And so my advice is this, that if you wait to have motivation to exercise, it's going to be a lot harder to exercise. If you spend a lot of time trying to come up with motivational tools to get yourself to exercise, you're going to waste a lot of time that you could have been exercising, finding motivation. So consistency is key. It's better to develop discipline and to know that you're doing this for yourself. So discipline over motivation. You want to do things like set your phone or your watch or your computer to tell you to move for 2 minutes every hour. That'll just help you keep your physical activity up during times when maybe you're at work, you would be more sedentary. And that's discipline. That's not finding motivation. And I'm not saying don't make your workout time fantastic. Go ahead, come up with an awesome playlist so that you can enjoy your workout. But don't rely on that to get to your workout. I hope that makes sense. So have the discipline, schedule how you're going to get this physical activity in your day. Just automate it like we automate our Roombas. Automate that physical activity so that we can get it. Don't wait to feel motivation. Okay, so what we do on a daily basis means more to our health than what we do only once in a while or what we do to find motivation. So consistency is key. Moving more throughout the day will just keep your metabolism and your heart healthier. It's really super simple. Like Nike says, just do it. Do it for you. It's your time. Find what you like and automate it into your day. So another barrier that we find is the fear of injury or being afraid that you lack the skills. So if you're afraid of an injury, my best suggestion is to warm up and cool down just by starting more slowly and wrapping up more slowly. You don't necessarily have to learn any new skills. I did do a presentation talking about releasing tension through stretching and rolling, so you could always take a look at that. That's really helpful to sort of help minimize injuries. Ease into your workouts or ease into any activity. Stay within your comfort levels, so if you go, and so this is something that I would say, if you've never exercised or it's been a long time since you've exercised, go a little easier than you think you need to, because the effects of that workout aren't going to be seen in your body until like the next day or 2 days later sometimes. So your workout's not over for 2 days. So you kind of want to take it easy, but commit to doing something every day, okay? So just ease into it, stay within your comfort levels. You know, for instance, if somebody's telling you to do squats and it hurts your knees, don't go as low, maybe ask for a different exercise. You don't have to do things that make you uncomfortable. There's always an option or a workaround. Okay? You could always just choose activities that involve minimal risk, like walking, okay? Or like do a country line dance video, or like something very basic. Lack of skill. Select activities that don't require you to learn new skills. Like you could always just walk or jog or whatever you already know how to do. Or you can go ahead and take classes to develop new skills. You could take a yoga class, you could do Pilates, but having an instructor is really helpful. Another barrier that people run across is that gyms are expensive. Coming up with a place to do their exercise is expensive. Trainers are expensive. It's the high cost and the lack of facilities. And the workaround here is select activities that don't require a gym if you don't want to pay a gym membership. Walking, jogging, jumping rope, all that stuff. Identify inexpensive, convenient resources available in your community. So maybe you have one of those workout parks like there is at Delaware Park where you could like go do pull-ups and push-ups and things like that. You might have your community rec center might have things. Your senior center might have things. Community worksite programs, like a lot of times in your office there might be something. You might have a walking group, or you might have a workout facility. I know LMHF has their wellness center. You can come here and do workouts. I don't know if we're doing that during COVID, but I know we have it. So then the YMCA again has fantastic classes. They'll accept a lot of insurance. If your insurance covers it, it might be helpful. I know a long time ago I was a single mom, and when I wanted to join, I only made so much money, so there was a sliding fee scale, and they still have that. There are scholarships for people who maybe can't afford it, and I would say it's so worthwhile. It's so worthwhile because there are things for the kids to do and get exercise. There are things for the elderly to do and get exercise. They have this wonderful Silver Sneakers program. They don't pay me to say any of this. I'm just a longtime member, and it's really wonderful, and it can be affordable if you need it to be. So after that, we're going to go into the last thing, which is weather conditions. Which is, if it's icy in Buffalo, it's really hard to go outside and get that physical activity in. So you can develop a set of activities that are always available. You know, you can join your gym, you could join a Y, you could find things to do in your own house, maybe just go up and down the stairs, maybe just do some body weight exercises. That you could go to YouTube, which is free, and there is Tai Chi, there's yoga. And the best part about it is if you don't like the teacher and you don't like the class, you could just click it off. Most of the classes are like 25 to 30 minutes long, so it's the perfect length to sort of just get into it. You can do things at your desk, like we talked about, like for 2 minutes. You could do things like stand at your desk and march. You could do things like plank, stand on one foot, brace your abs. We talked about all those things. 2 minutes at the end of every hour. You don't need to go have good weather and go outside. You can look out your window at the beautiful snow in Buffalo. So after that, we'll go through ACE, which is your American Exercise Certification group. They make the certification for a lot of trainers. So like if you go to a Y or a JCC or really any gym, a lot of the group fitness trainers and a lot of the personal trainers will be certified through this company, and they do a really good job of having people have access to general fitness. So there are 35 ways, according to them, to increase physical activity throughout your day. A lot of these you've probably already heard, All of them may not apply to you, but they might help you come up with things that do apply to you. So take the stairs instead of the elevator. Park far away from the entrance wherever you want to go. So if you're going to the mall, park in the farthest spot and walk to the door. Stand instead of sitting. This burns more calories. Take a walk on your lunch break. Walk or bike to your destination instead of driving. Sit on an exercise ball at your desk instead of a chair. You'll build core strength. You'll move around a little more than you do in a chair. Do stretches or ride a stationary bike while you watch TV. I will admit that a few years ago, I used to love running and run all the time. I was so proud of myself. It could be -40 and I would go run. And a couple of years ago, I went outside in February to go for my run, and I turned around and went back inside. It was windy and it was cold, and I said to my husband, I was like, we're ordering a treadmill. And so now we have this treadmill, and I don't run on it very much anymore, but I do get on it in the morning when I'm getting my day together. Like I have my coffee, and I'll go down to the treadmill. Maybe I'll turn on the news or Star Trek or whatever I feel like watching, and I start organizing my day. So it's just a little bit of physical activity that I can do, like whether it's snowing or raining or what. But like I said, it's like I could watch the news and I can get my little bit of physical activity that way. So other things you can do are like during commercial breaks, you could get on the floor and do some crunches or planks, jumping jacks, push-ups, just a little bit of activity. Stretch, things like that. You could take a 10-minute walk break in the morning or in the evening, and that's I kind of combined that with the TV. That's what I do. You could just, when your kids go outside to play, and you would normally sit down and like do billing or something, do your bills, just go and play with them, even if it's annoying, or just like watch them play and walk back and forth, which is what I do because I have boys, little boys, and I don't always want to do what they're doing. So other ways to get more physical activity throughout your day. If you do have kids, take them for a stroller ride or a wagon ride. Walk or run while your kids ride their bikes. Instead of sitting, walk around at their sporting events. That's another, I think all the moms think I'm crazy because I do that, but like baseball games are just too long. You just have to get up and do something. So take your dog for a walk. If you already walk your dog every day, maybe you walk a little faster, or maybe you just do like 30 seconds where you do a super fast walk or a jog, and then you go a little slower. You could always do things like when you're waiting for something in the microwave, do squats for the 30 seconds or however long something's in the microwave. Other things you can do are do squats or march while you're brushing your teeth, calf raises while you're getting ready in front of your mirror. Take a walk when you're frustrated or bored. So just do like a 2 to 5 minute, walk around your office or your house if you're working from home now. This is one of my favorite ones, plant a garden. Because remember we said that the reason we're here is because we've automated so much and we've made our lives so that we have to do less physical labor. But maybe we can find a labor we really enjoy. So plant a garden and then maintain that garden. So maybe instead of shooting weed spray everywhere, every other day you go out, you get your little trowel and you pull out all the dandelions, which Lord knows where they come from, but they're always coming up. Maybe we do that. That means that we have to squat, we have to do a lot of things. I hope you didn't hear my knees crack coming back up. But that's the idea, just finding something that creates more movement in your life that you enjoy. Here are the last 5. Go for a walk with a friend instead of meeting them for coffee. Maybe you still get coffee. Maybe you make coffee and you go for a walk. But make your friend, your meetings with your friends or the time that you spend together sort of more around exercise or healthfulness. Maybe you go to a yoga class. Have walking meetings at work. It's like when you're with small groups. Instead of in a meeting room, get up, get outside, and go for a walk. Keep hand weights at your desk. Even if you don't have hand weights, like everybody's got a bottle of water now, right? you could just use that. Use your bottle of water and just do some arm exercises if you're into getting good arms. A lot of people are. Turn on music and dance around your house. Instead of making piles around your house, so this is something that I know about. Instead of making piles around your house, like when your kid's work comes home from school, it goes in a pile. When the Land's End catalogs come, they go in a pile. Bills come, they go in a pile. Church stuff comes, it goes in a pile. Rather than just having piles, let's address, what comes, when it comes, and put it right away as soon as we need to. Or maybe you have a couple days a week where we deal with all of our piles. So that way we're kind of tidying and we're kind of exercising at the same time. Or for me, one thing that I decided I needed to do now that I spend a lot more time in my office is, I said to get up and do some kind of exercise every 2 minutes. Well, my exercise is I just dust all the books and stuff that's everywhere because somehow I've never noticed how dusty it gets in there. But there's a lot of shelves and a lot of dust. So I get up and I do that every 2 minutes, and that way I'm keeping everything nice and tidy and I'm getting some more physical activity than I normally would. So we're on the last thing, which is don't just go by my list, okay? You have to come up with your own list because my list might not apply to you. So where can you fit in more movement throughout your day? Okay, so maybe, like I said, maybe it's you go out and you check on your garden or you check on your lawn. Maybe you dance around your house more. But whatever it is that works for you, think about how you could be doing something when you're sedentary that you would enjoy, that would be not difficult. So it wouldn't be something super frustrating because it's got to be something that you're willing to do. And that would help keep you healthy and burn more calories throughout the day. So even when sitting at your desk, can you stretch? Can we roll our shoulders out, do a couple neck rolls? Even just doing this requires energy. It requires reconnection with our posture. It's going to burn more calories than just this. Can we stand up? Can we squeeze our abs? Can we do it for 30 seconds and time it? Take a little break and do it 4 times. That would be 2 minutes. You can stretch your glutes. You can lean forward and, side to side. Work out the low back, which is really gets a lot of tension, especially from sitting all day long. So you can always roll forward, extend, side to side, and really gentle twisting. So there's 3 planes of motion your back can stretch in. And you can do all of that, and I just did it in 10 seconds. But you can stretch it out and do it in 2 minutes, and it would feel really good. And then just think about how you would like to put your muscles to work. So whether it be like this or by stretching, but think about how it could apply to you. And don't think you have to have all the answers right now. Just put this in your little mind like a seed, and when you have to go to work or go do anything and you catch yourself being sedentary, maybe for more than an hour, think about things that you could do that you would enjoy, that would increase your physical activity. And with that, I will leave you. Have a nice day.